I'm having a wonderful time. You mean a lot to me, and I'm glad that you're having a blast.
How would you wipe out your family to be with me?
Nichol Kessinger, a 34-year-old geologist, became famous after dating killer Chris Watts in 2018. Watts was found guilty of killing his wife and 2 children in August 2018. But before Watts pleaded guilty, the notorious criminal said that his partner Nichol was also involved in the family crime. Well, the story is pretty scary, and it can give you chills. A lot of people want to know what really happened, and if Kessinger had anything to do with it. Nicol Kessinger met her then-boyfriend at the company where they both worked. At the time, Kessinger worked in the environmental department, and Watts was an operator. She told the Denver Post that Watts and the other workers would always wait in the break room before going to work. Nichol never talked to him, though. Later, in the middle of June 2018, Watts himself went to her office room, which is where he and she met. Watts was still married to his then-wife Shanann Catherine Rzucek at the time, but he didn't wear a wedding ring, which made Nichol think well of him. They soon began to see each other often at work. After a while, Chris supposedly told her that he and his wife had just split up. He also said that he and his then-wife have 2 children together. They met off-duty for the first time in late June. Nichol also apparently asked him at the time what was going on with his split from his wife. He told her that their divorce was almost done and that they were just trying to work out their money problems. At the time, he was still formally married to his wife. Slowly, by early July of that year, they were also getting closer together. 4 or 5 times a week, they used to get together. Chris called his lover at the end of July and told her that the divorce was over. In an interview with the case's investigators, it was said that Nichol deleted some of the texts she sent to Chris, which is strange and makes it hard to know if she was involved in the murder or not. But she explained it in a 2-hour chat by saying, "I was just kind of grossed out by him. I didn't know what was going on right now. You just lied to me and I don't want to see this come over my phone again. So I removed it. I deleted all of his stuff because he lied to me. It was the hurt that made me delete it. Even though there is no proof that she had anything to do with the disappearances, many people thought she was very guilty during the interview." In the same way, there were a lot of holes in her story. For example, she didn't start looking for wedding dresses online until about 2 months after she started dating him. Here are some of the reasons why people think she was not as innocent as she played out to be. 1. After failing the polygraph, Chris gives up remarkably easily and confesses to the crimes. Why? Perhaps because the police immediately halted their investigation afterward. If Chris were a sociopath capable of killing his pregnant wife and young children, would he really confess so easily? 2. Kessinger claims when she met Watts at work, she was unaware he was married because he didn't wear a wedding ring around her. Many men with similar jobs won't wear rings to work because they can be a safety hazard. He eventually mentioned his wife and children, but Kessinger claims he said he and Shanann were separated. She says she discovered Watts was still married when watching a news report about his missing wife and children. She also says she discovered that Shanann was pregnant through the news report. 3. Computer records show that Nichol frequented Shanann's Facebook page, where Shanann announced her pregnancy and made frequent updates about her family. No one looking at Shanann's Facebook page would be under the impression she was nearing the end of a mutual divorce, as Nichol claimed to believe. 4. Chris and Nichol met at Anadarko Petroleum, the same place Chris returned to hide the bodies of his wife and children. As a safety officer, Nichol knew tons of information about the site Chris worked at, including that it was a perfect site to possibly commit insurance fraud, which would require the kind of explosion that would destroy bodies and evidence. 5. The first time Kessinger says she felt anything was off about Watts was the night of Shanann's murder. Before Shanann got home from her business trip, Chris and Nichol FaceTimed. Chris was lying on his bare mattress. Since it was late at night, Nichol said she thought this was strange. When the bodies of his victims were recovered, they were wrapped in sheets. The phone call was 111 minutes long. Nichol has not been able to tell police what they talked about during this call, though she was interviewed less than 72 hours later. 6. Kessinger claims that after Watts appeared to be too casual about his family missing, she contacted the police and told them about the affair. However, this was after the police were already informed about the affair by a supervisor at Anadarko Petroleum. 7. Nicol has no alibi at the time of the murders. 8. Even though their relationship was only 2 months long, police discovered wedding dress shopping along with phrases like "marrying your mistress" and "man I'm having an affair with says he will leave his wife" in her Google search history. Police also found that she had been searching Google for Chris Watts as early as August 3, 2017, almost a full year before she claims they spoke for the first time, and months before she met him at work. 9. The morning of the murders, a neighbor saw a truck similar to the one Nicol owned outside the Watts home. 10. At that time, Nicol's phone pinged a tower in Frederick, Colorado, where the Watts family home was. Kessinger lived in a town 25 minutes away. 11. Nicol tried to destroy her SIM card before giving her phone to investigators. She also deleted texts and photos of Watts in her search history, shows her looking to see if the cops would be able to read her deleted messages. 12. Phone records show that Nicol and Chris were in close contact the night before, the morning of, and the day following the murders. 13. Chris told law enforcement he tried first to subdue Shanann with OxyContin. The police were not able to establish how he could have gotten OxyContin, as it had not been prescribed to him. He said where the OxyContin came from is a secret he will take to his grave. 14. This text from Nicol to Chris says, "I want to be a part of it. Being in your life is something I crave." 15. Nicol also Googled how much Amber Frey's net worth was. Amber Frey was the mistress of Scott Peterson, who was convicted of murdering his pregnant wife, Lacey Peterson. 16. There may be security footage of Nicol at the Watts home the morning of the murders. 17. In her interviews, Kessinger avoids saying the names of Shanann, Bella, Celeste, or Nico. This is a common tactic used to distance yourself from someone you have wronged. No matter what the case was, though, detectives couldn't find any proof that she was involved. After telling the Colorado Bureau of Investigation what she knew, Nicol hasn't been seen since. Kessinger is now living under a new name, but her exact position hasn't been found yet. Before her partner was caught, Kessinger used to live in her house in Arvada, Colorado. She now moved out of her old home and began her new life. Other than that, no one knows where she is or what she is doing right now. But many people think Nicol has joined a program to protect witnesses. She also said, "I wouldn't be surprised if it's hard to go out in public sometimes for a couple of years." This case is officially closed, and no one has investigated anything since Chris Watts confessed less than 2 days after the murders. I don't think anyone thinks 2 days is enough time to close out a case and ensure justice will be properly served. What is your opinion on this twisted case? Write down in the comments below, and if you enjoyed watching this video, please hit the subscribe button and touch the bell icon. Until next time here at Criminal Case Files, stay safe and stay vigilant.